John Key.
Madam Speaker, my question is to the Prime Minister and reads, what is the status of the Right Honourable Winston Peters and her ministry following yesterday's tabling of the report of the Privileges Committee?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, Mr Peters continues to stand aside from his portfolio.
Supplementary question. John Key.
Can't make up your mind.
Order. Order. John Key.
Does the Prime Minister stand by her statement in the House on Tuesday the 26th of August that she accepts Mr Peters' word, quote, unless something arises out of the Privileges Committee? And does she not see the clear finding from the Privileges Committee that Mr Peters committed a contempt of Parliament quite clearly comes within her definition of something arising from that committee?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, I certainly won't be listening to any lectures on truthfulness from that member after yesterday's revelations, Madam Speaker.
Order. Order. John Key, supplementary question.
Well, can the Prime Minister confirm that the Privileges Committee have heard evidence from Labor's biggest donor, Owen Glenn, from Mr Peters and from his lawyer, and clearly accepted the evidence of Mr Glenn? That's what the Privileges Committee did. They accepted the word of Mr Glenn's, Mr Peters, not Mr Peters and not the lawyer, but has in fact she's been happy to accept the word of Mr Peters over those people. Why is that?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, there's one person's word I can't accept, and it's that member's word to the public and the media.
Order. Supplementary question. John Key.
Well, does the reason the Prime Minister not want to answer any of these questions because she's locked at the hip with Winston Peters? She's been covering up for him as well.
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, the only cover-up in this House is from Mr Key, who in an 8-week period asked written and oral questions in Parliament, lodged an Official Information Act request, bought and traded Transrail shares profitably and claimed that he never spoke on the subject while he did that. That was false, Mr Key.
Supplementary question. The Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Does the Prime Minister recall statements by Mr Key just a few hours ago that said he forgot about those extra shares, but now he will fill out the form and correct it? And does that not remind someone of the word which begins with H, which cannot be said in this House?
No. Order! No, order! Order. Now, that was unnecessary, so if the member would please withdraw that word beginning with H. We all know what is meant.
Madam Speaker,
please, just do it.
Yeah, Madam Speaker, I withdraw H.
Thank you. Point of order. Point of order, Jerry Brownlee.
No, Madam Speaker, the question itself is out of order. The Minister asks if Mr Key will fill out the form. There was no pecuniary interest register until his party put it in place.
Well, this is order. This is a matter of debate. A point of order. The Honourable Paul Swain.
Well, Madam Speaker, I thought it was a bit fair. I thought the H word the member was referring to was hollow, as in hollow men.
Well, that wasn't a point of order either. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, in replying to the original question, there seemed to be quite a lot of things that Mr Key forgot, like it was anywhere from 25 to 50,000 shares at any one time, and maybe it was 100,000 shares. I'll bet, Madam Speaker, as someone who thought about his shares every morning when he woke up, unlike any normal person, Madam Speaker, would know that he bought and sold shares profitably while he was raising questions publicly in this House and in committees, and he did not tell the truth to the news media about it.
Supplementary question, John Key.
Well, can the Prime Minister explain why her ministers, her staff and her research unit have so much time to go through line by line my share dealing from 5 years ago?
Point of order. Ron Mark.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, could I just bring to your attention the obvious difference there? We were sitting here in the crossbenches trying to hear the Prime Minister's answer and totally unable to hear anything clearly because of the... It's a point of order, David. Shut up.
Order.
Because of...
Now, please be seated. Now, if this level of behaviour continues, the member knows that was inappropriate. Please withdraw that comment.
I withdraw. Madam
Now, the
Speaker,
point of order should be made succinctly.
Yes, because of the amount of noise, we couldn't hear the answer. By contrast, as soon as Mr Key got to his feet to ask his question, the rest of the House was silent so that he could ask it. I've just asked that from here forth we're able to hear the Prime Minister's answers as clearly as we're allowing Mr Key to have his questions heard.
Yes, I think the level of interventions was getting to the stage where it was impossible to hear. John Key, supplementary question.
Can the Prime Minister explain why her ministers, her staff, her research unit have so much time to go through my 5-year-old share dealings line by line, but she has absolutely no energy or interest to do the same thing when it comes to Winston Peters? Or is the answer she doesn't need to do that? 2 years ago she knew he'd accepted a donation because she arranged it.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, of course, when Mr Key makes public statements saying he tells the truth at all times, we as a party opposing his party are going to see what the veracity of those statements are. And, Madam Speaker, we have proven that they have no veracity.
Supplementary question, the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Madam Speaker, can the Prime Minister comment on the previous question from the Leader of the Opposition in which he admitted the transactions were his when he told the media they belonged to a trust this morning?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, that would be absolutely typical of the flip-flops of this member, who cannot keep to one straight answer from 1 hour to the next.
Supplementary question, the Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Has the Prime Minister any reports that suggest that Winston Peters made even 1 cent out of his involvement in a legal case? In contrast, well, I know you don't want to hear it, but it'll get worse shortly. Madam Speaker, has the Prime Minister got any reports that Winston Peters made even 1 cent out of this legal case? In contrast to Mr Key, who apparently made thousands, which is a conflict of interest situation.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, I have no evidence that Mr Peters made a cent, as he said. On the other hand, Madam Speaker, I do have evidence of parliamentary questions lodged by Mr Key in October 2002, April 2003, again in April 2003, Official Information Act request in April 2003. Then he purchases in his own name, another 50,000 shares. Then he meets with others who want to buy Transrail. Then he sells those shares bought in his own name and doubles his money and carries on asking parliamentary questions.
Point of order.
All the time failing
point of order
and interest.
Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Madam Speaker, Mr Key was again allowed to ask his question in relative silence, and then when the Prime Minister started, the braying began right around the National Party benches. This is not acceptable, and they should be told to either desist or leave the House.